Agency Special 102. That's what we're going to call it. 102. 24 hours ago, a little bit over, probably like 26. We were live. We were talking about some things. And it's been another crazy couple of minutes here, couple hours. We'll call it 24. But without further ado, let's introduce the crew. Germ So True, Vic Jr. Vic, what's going on, bro? How you doing?
Ain't not much, man. Just following up with this free agency. A lot of things happened today. A lot of teams finding some insurance policies and some depth, some quality depth, in my opinion. So, looking forward to it. Talk about a little bit of prospects too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So make sure that you guys are subscribed to the channels. Of course, we got YouTube, capital THE, capital S, capital C, capital E, capital N. That is the YouTube channel. The dot scene on Instagram. Then, of course, scene underscore the on Twitter, the underscore scene on Twitch. Then, of course, on Facebook, capital SCEN, all caps. And that is the Facebook like page. Make sure you guys are tuned in and make sure you guys are checking out all of the beautiful, beautiful pages that we have and all those different things. Follow, like, and tell a friend. Might as well tell a friend. What's wrong with that? So what we got
So,
here is we got a lot of stuff going on here. Obviously, Vic. When I say obviously, I mean I want people to understand it's free agency. It's that time of the year where we're pretty much in a situation where we're in the prime season of finding the best possible fits or some of the best fits that we can find for our respective football teams. Okay. So we got a team like the New York Giants that we criticized. And this team in particular, what they have been able to do, and what they're looking at doing today and things of that nature, Vic, I'm actually a little bit more impressed by this, by some of the things that they're going to be doing, considering they have limited resources as far as cap space and things of that nature. So let's start with you. What do you think about them, for example, letting a guy like Dalvin Tomlinson go and a guy like Kevin Zeitler go?
talking about the Giants, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, again, the cap is an inconsistent thing for me. Sometimes it looks like they have the money to manipulate the cap or something, the space to manipulate the cap. They could have kept their three best down linemen together, but they decided to go let Dalvin test the market. Um, right now, I don't know if the Kenny Galladay rumors are true, Jerem, but apparently he was there for a physical and that he could possibly sign with the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
They just signed Kyle Rudolph, which I think it's a great signing. He's not exactly you would say elite tight end despite the name, but for the even Ingram situation, we got a situation there who Ingram first round pick has dropped a lot of passes, has been inconsistent with health. It's a good insurance policy there for the Giants. And that's another guy that can help them block in the run game, try to get Saquon started. So um, I like that pickup. If they could get Galladay, then I mean the Giants. Even though I would like to see Galladay somewhere else, the Giants could make themselves a pretty good team if they could get both those guys in there offensively. You muted, bro.
I'm interested in the Galladay pickup simply because I want to know what's the direction that they're going to be going. That gives
Right.
you an ex receiver that you now say they're going to trust this guy to do certain things. Now Sterling Shepard becomes your chain mover. With those things being applied now you can take your guy like Darius Slayton and you can have him also be a bigger part of your downfield intermediate passing game.
Yes.
So you have the pieces here to make this feasible. To go along with Saquon, you brought in Booker. So let's see what happens. The offensive line is improved, obviously, from last year to this year. So that'll be something else that we'll have. And then defensively, we got to keep bringing in bodies right now. You got Dexter Lawrence out of Clemson a few years ago from the OBJ trade with Cleveland. You still have Leonard Williams, who you're trying to re-sign and trying to get back in your building. That's going to be key. If you let Dalvin walk for the amount of money you let him walk for, you got to bring back Leonard. It's just
Yeah.
that simple. Another thing that happened since we have been away is we got Minnesota. They cooking with some gasoline right now. This team has done an excellent job in the last 2 years of spending free agency wise. I mean, I just think overall they have done a very, very good job. Of course, they lost Rudolph to the Giants, but then they lost Mike Boone, the running back, to Denver. But I mean, let's just be honest. Stephen Weatherly is a rotational piece on your defensive line. Nick Virgil is another guy that you can use. Um, Call it what you want, man, but Dalvin Tomlinson signing there gives you a guy that's feasible next to Michael Pierce, who you brought in as well. Who's this gives you two quality run defenders that are both in a very prime of their career to go along with a guy like Daniil Hunter. So I'm really looking forward to that. But the player that I think is going to take and make a lot of noise with this team this year is one Patrick Peterson. 1 year, $10 million for one of the most uber talented athletic corners that you can find in football that's on the back end of his prime. This is going to be interesting to see what we do because now you have a press man guy who can cut off one side of the field. He doesn't have to be elite. He just has to be solid. And if he's solid, that's going to be enough for this team to be able to utilize him and make this a very interesting dynamic to this defense now, because now we don't have to strictly play zone. We can play some man now.
Right. No, I mean, I think with the Peterson pickup, I think what they're trying to do is just add some veteran, a veteran body in there, somebody that can help the younger guys out. They still got a lot of depth when it comes to how young these players are. At the cornerback position, you got Jeff Gladney, and you got Cameron Dantzler, who they drafted the last couple of years. So, Pat can help them out, can start over them and kind of help them get, better at that position and hopefully solidify that secondary for Minnesota. Because, I mean, as good as that front seven has been for years, Jerm, they just not have been consistent enough in the secondary, especially having two good safeties and Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris. So, but, letting Kyle Rudolph go, again, he might be a benefit for the Giants, but, it was time for him to go from the Vikings. I think they're okay with Irv Smith starting now. He has shown that he can be a damn good pass catcher. So, it's a solid team now. I mean, they've been kind of disappointing in terms of the talent that they've had, but I mean, we'll see. They got a better all-around team now in terms of on paper.
Absolutely. And the big thing here that I really, really enjoy the most about this is that they can continue to add to this with their first round pick this year. They're going to have an opportunity to get one of these edge rusher prospects that we think can come in and be a nice contributing factor. As long as you have these guys, Michael Pierce is a good pass rusher. Dalvin is underrated at pass rushing. You also got Daniil Hunter, who we know is one of the best athletic guys at the defensive end position in all of football. This should be interesting. You still got Anthony Barr, and you still got Kendricks, who I think is a very underrated player, and you still got Harrison Smith.
I like remember James Lynch, kid out of Baylor.
Absolutely, he's also on that team.
Yeah, the engine that can't stop running. That kid is one of those guys that you would like in your rotation that can, come in and give teams some headaches, especially at the end of the game. Because he's just constantly going. So, it's so far on paper they've put together a decent squad, and like you said, they can continue to add to it in the draft.
Absolutely. I'm here for all of it. I want to see how it all goes down, to be honest with you, because we're just going to call it what it is. There are a lot of interesting moves that we're going to be discussing here periodically throughout this entire live here. So let's go to another team. Let's have some fun with this. The Arizona Cardinals. Now, you might say, well, Germ, they let Pat Pete walk. Germ, they let Kenyon Drake walk. But no, not only that, they let Hassan Reddick walk as well, who's a big part of what there was pass rush wise. They signed Matt Prater from Detroit, so obviously they felt like they needed another kicker. They bring in AJ Green to be another receiver, and then they bring in JJ Watt. So let's start right now. What do you feel like Arizona's next move should be focused on? Where should they be? Where should their big focus be? They're bringing back Chandler Jones, obviously. They're going to have him. Of course, Kyler. Of course, you still got DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald. If he decides he wants to play this year, he'll end up being with that team as well. What's the next move?
I mean, you look at this roster. I'm looking at them right now, bro. They just got to keep adding to that beef, keep adding to that front because I mean, you got some decent receivers on paper. The defensive line looks like it's got some talent. I think JJ Watt, even though obviously he's not the elite guy that we know him to be, he's still a B plus, A minus player right now. Like you said, the front seven is going to be solid. The secondary, maybe you'll have some questions there. Of course, Buda Baker was outstanding this past season. But, I mean, again, no beef, no Lombardi. Keep adding to that beef. The left tackle is decent, but could be better. DJ Humphries. They did add Rodney Hudson at center. That's a huge pickup. So, again, the tackle position, because, I mean, the way Kyler plays, the way Kyler likes to drift in the pocket, drift backwards a little bit, you're going to need to protect him in the edges.
So, draft. Let's incorporate some draft prospects here. Let's just strictly talk draft. If you're the Arizona Cardinals, what is your focal point when it comes down to drafting? Because as we said, DJ Humphries is solid, but it could be better. The offensive line, we got Mason Cole, who we think is a pretty good player, who can play multiple positions as well for them. He's a player now that you can kick the guard, and you can say, okay, you can focus strictly on playing guard now. Mm-hmm. We still got a couple other guys on the offensive line we can use.
Josh Jones, we forgot about.
Josh Jones as well is here. Yeah. Do you focus on offensive line, or do you say, okay, we need to be trying to look into see if we can find one of these young guys that we can try to develop and try to help with our pass rush?
That's a good question.
Because where they're picking, we're looking at them potentially having a chance at Darisaw from Virginia Tech. They're going to also probably have a shot at probably somebody like Wyatt Davis from Ohio State. It's a lot of guys like that we can be talking about in this situation. So what do you think? I mean, heck, we just seen a guy named Jalen Phillips from Miami, who looks like he would be a nice player on the opposite end of Chandler Jones.
Yeah. So let me ask you this then. Let's say you got Christian Darisaw and you have Jalen Phillips, or you're a guy out of Penn State graded like right exactly the same, 90, let's say. A minus prospect, top 20. Right? Aren't they picking, they should be picking like 18-ish?
Around in that range. 18 is the Dolphins. 18 is the Dolphins. So 18 it's around 16 to 20. 16 between 16 and 20.
So you got those, let's say you got those two graded. For this football team specifically, who are you taking? Because left tackle and pass rush, but is Jalen Phillips like that kind of pass rush where you could say he can change a game more than Darisaw would be able to protect?
The only thing that makes us interesting is we got DJ Humphries already, and we just drafted last year a player that we didn't play a lot, which was Josh Jones. So if we feel like we have left tackle already solidified with what we already have in our building, then that's when I say you go with the pass rusher.
Okay. Is it so? That's where when you're picking up in the middle of the draft like that, that's the tough choices. Especially specifically for them right now, where they got to improve the beef. Because I mean, on paper, everywhere else they look decent, right? So
I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, Vic, I don't think that there's a right or wrong answer here.
Right.
I think it's just one of those situations where we have to start asking ourselves this tough question: is best available player something that we need to be focused on?
Yeah, I mean that ultimately what it has to be. I mean, You set up you try to set up your squad where you add pieces everywhere and places that you think there's a hole, and then draft the best player available. Again, specifically for them, I mean, the quarterback could get better, but they're gonna have to improve that offensive line for sure for him.
So the next team, do you have any team here on your on hand that you think that you would like to discuss? Or
I think shout out to Kellen. He's here. Broncos are talking to Kyle Fuller. Some news that just came through. Shout out to Josh. And I saw that he posted something literally a few minutes before we went to on live that he was interested in them getting Galladay. So I don't know exactly what's going on with the Galladay story. There was talk that he was in New York already on the trainer's table getting a physical done. Then there's rumors of the Bengals making an offer and a couple other teams. So that'd be interesting. I know they let AJ go. You got T Higgins and you got Tyler Boyd, but you could always stand to add an extra weapon for Joe Burrow over there and stuff like that. Obviously, besides the beef.
yeah, this is just one of them times where it's just like, whatever. I don't know, man. This is tough because Denver's in a situation where they just don't have enough right now. So bringing in Kyle Fuller what does that guarantee for us right now? I think you may do better drafting a player and just having that player under a rookie contract. That way, when it comes down time to spend the money, you can have the money to spend on the right players. Because to be fair, is Drew Lock the answer at quarterback?
They got a lot of work, bro. They got a lot. I mean, as much as I like Drew Lock, you can see some of the inconsistencies in his game. They, like you said, they got a lot of work to do too to fill up that roster, man. Might not be hearing from the Broncos for a long time, KG.
It may not even be the fact that it's a long time. It's so many different pieces here that just don't make sense. Yeah. Like it's just like, okay, what are we aiming for here? What are we trying to accomplish? That's
Philip
a very,
Lindsay,
very important part.
Yeah, Philip Lindsay took a contract elsewhere. I don't know exactly where that was, Kellen. If you're gonna Kellen posted something letting him.
Yeah, see, we're gonna see how that goes. So, real quick, let's go. Let's shift gears and let's go to another team in that division, the Oakland Raiders, but Las Vegas Raiders. They're still Oakland to me. They still do Oakland stuff to me. But you bring in Ngakoue, whatever. I'm not really high on that. You also bring in Kenyon Drake, which you already have Josh Jacobs. You bring in Solomon Thomas, who's unproven as a defensive end for 1 year for $5 million. So it's a show me deal to see what you get. You bring in John Brown, which should be interesting in itself because you just get a 31-year-old receiver that's never really done much in the league. Jonathan Hankins for 1 year and $3.5 million. I think that's interesting. You get a guy with some beef on the interior, helps add to that. You bring in Quentin Jefferson from Buffalo for 1 year, $3.2 million. It gives you something else. You bring back Incognito on a $2.6 million contract. I'm gonna be honest. I just think Oakland is kind of Las Vegas is just kind of going through the motions here. Yeah. I don't see much changing necessarily, but that's the key here. Like, I don't see a lot of growth in this football team. I see you getting rid of a lot of veteran players, but at what expense? What for? So what are some of your thoughts on some of those contracts we just?
Yeah, I mean they're mostly just filling gaps that they lost. They lost Booker and they fill that gap with Drake, which I don't have an issue with it. Both Drake and Jacobs could kind of be in and out of the lineup at times. So if you have a combination of both where they can both help each other stay injury free not too much wear and tear throughout the season. I would definitely have them in a rotation with Jacobs obviously leading the way, and just be a strong running football team. Don't put the ball in Carr's hands too much, even though Gruden loves to throw the ball vertically. Just keep attacking with that running game. The issue is now, Germ, is they lost a couple guys on the offensive line. You know, they don't got the left tackle anymore. They let the center Rodney Hudson go. So I mean, I don't know. Are they one of the teams with the two first round draft picks? Are they? I don't remember.
No.
But hey, they're gonna have to attack their offensive line too. I mean, it's quality depth in this draft, so they definitely gonna have to work a lot on the beef.
Remember this as well. They still have Colt Miller, who they drafted in the first round, 15th overall. They still have that guy they brought back incognito. They have a lot of players that they've been, moving around. So we're going to see exactly what they feel about those guys. Now, before we move on to the next team, I just want to say I'm the most interested in this. One of the most interesting teams here to me in the offseason is the Washington football team. And why they're intriguing is because they made a playoff last year in a division that wasn't very good, obviously, and whatever the case may be, but they have the foundations and the pieces to make this intriguing. So what did they do? They went out and got Ryan Fitzmagic. What else did they do? Well, they went out and they signed William Jackson. So those are two solid quality players. Next, yesterday, they agreed to a 3-year deal with Curtis Samuel. Now, why does this make things interesting? Because Curtis Samuel is another former Buckeye, just like Terry McLaurin is, but he's a guy that you're going to be able to use in a lot of different ways. So now you got some multifaceted gadget players that you're going to be able to use in many different ways. And yes, I say gadget because the most important part of this is that you can use Curtis Samuels as a running back. You can use him as a receiver in the slot. You can use him as a flanker outside, or you can use him in motion and use him to try to bring a little bit more, draw away from attention from your actual running game. So with all of those things being a part of this, I'm looking at this player and at this signing and saying, Washington just got better today on offense.
Yes.
But we still have to improve the left side of our offensive line.
Yes.
That has to be done. So do we focus, if you're Washington, draft prospects, are we saying we got to find a way to get up and get one of these tackles?
Only the tackles?
Well, you don't need anything too much on defense besides to continue to bring in the guys that you can.
Right. I'm thinking they should be in the quarterback market.
Oh, well, you mean.
I mean, I like Fitzpatrick. I think he makes them a quality football team in that division. I would have liked them to see if they can get Kenny Golladay, give them some size on the outside to go with Terry McLaurin. That I thought that would have been an awesome pickup, but I don't, it doesn't seem like they're in the market for Golladay. But other than that, like you said, that beef on the left side needs to be improved. So, if they move up on the draft, are they going for a quarterback or are they going for the left tackle? That's going to be interesting to see too.
Where they're picking in this class, though, Vic, it feels like offensive line is pretty much what they're stuck with.
Right. I mean, obviously it depends.
If Mac Jones falls to them, let's say Mac Jones falls to them,
you know how I feel about Mac Jones.
So you're saying go?
I say go for sure. I say go for sure. Shit.
So we got Mac Jones there. Do we feel like we can maybe find them a tackle for later rounds?
Yes. I think there's about 7-8 tackles of quality in this draft.
That's interesting. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just looking at this and saying to myself, Mac Jones and a second round tackle or a first round tackle and Kellen Mond.
Nah. I've seen a little bit of Mond. We still got some study to do on Kellen. But what is his name? Is it Kellen Mond?
Yeah, that's him.
Texas A&M. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying there. Left tackle again, one of the most important positions in football. The whole offensive line, period, nowadays. But I gotta go with Mac, man. I'm impressed. And again, folks are gonna say, well, you guys didn't like Tua much. He had a lot of help. They both had a lot of help. But you see a big difference. You see a big difference. Mac Jones has just a complete control of that offense. You see him doing a lot of reading the defense pre and post snap. Some of the decisions, some of the things that they trust in him to do, some of the plays that he's had to attempt, he's just looked impressive. The only thing, it's the only questionable thing right now is his downfield arm strength. So we're gonna see what happens there. But everything else, I think it's a solid looking quarterback.
So as we get ready to wrap up here, so we just wanted to come briefly give you guys a little bit of an update of everything that's going on. Is there anything? Are there any players in particular that you're really stuck on to see what teams they kind of go to see what happens like overall? Do you have any guys left on the board that you just like, hey, I want to see what team this kid goes to or what team this player goes to because they could be a really big impact player?
Again, I think Galladay is probably the only one left out of the top 10, top 15 players. I'm interested to see what the final word is going to be on him. Because, like I said, like I said yesterday, I would like to see him either in Green Bay or in Washington. I think he'll help solidify some things for those football teams. So I'm gonna go with that. I honestly can't think of another name at the moment that is available. I think everybody else is pretty much signed in terms of the top 10, top 15 players.
Let's see. Any other players here? We still got Kwan Short has not been signed yet. Melvin Ingram, Jarrell Casey, Carlos Dunlap, AJ Boye, Quan Alexander.
There's a deep cornerback. In terms of a lot of these guys would be quality depth that you should see coming off the board quickly here. But yeah, if Kenny Galladay so far, Anthony Harris. Anthony Harris is a name.
Anthony Harris is another guy that hasn't come off the board as well.
Yeah, so I would think the Vikings are going to try to bring him back, but
Casey Hayward. Juju is supposed to be linked to going to the Jets. So we'll keep an eye for that. And Desmond Truffaut is currently also on the market as well. To go along with LaMarcus Joyner, we got Olivier Vernon, we got Malik Jackson. It's a lot of guys around.
How about Villanueva, the Steelers left tackle? Is it one of those situations where the Steelers said, all right, you're not good enough to keep around and just let him go?
Well, I think if you're Pittsburgh, you need to find quality starters because right now you need to keep Ben upright as best to the best of your ability because that is your best ability to win. It kind of is what it is.
Right.
So final thoughts before we wrap up today.
That's it, man. Again, we're waiting. We had a question earlier before we went live too by Kevin Watson in the group asking when we're gonna do the draft. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure we don't have a date yet. But
it'll be sometime in April, and it probably will be the second or third week of April. Right, so just stay posted on that. We'll probably do like we did the last time. Probably do a weekend type of thing where one day on a Friday or Saturday, whatever day we pick, and we select for the group. We'll let everybody pick it, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, our big board started already. It's going to be interesting to see if if we could get to the 125 this season.
We'll get there. We'll get there. It'll get there pretty fast once we start filling in these players. So that being said, man, final thoughts for the show is let's keep our eyes out on see what these other teams are starting to add and things of that nature. But more than anything, man, I'm excited because the free agent season is upon us. And of course, that means when free agency is here, so it's draft season. And we still got Deshaun Watson out here, who we're going to be talking about him extensively more on Sunday. But be on the lookout for this conversation we're going to have about Deshaun Watson on Sunday as I continue to grab a lot of the evidence and things that are going on in this case and on this in these allegations. So let's be mindful of those things. But with that being said, this is Germ. This is Vic. Real quick, free agency signing out. We'll holler at you guys later.